So on 1.3, we're going to solve linear equations. And we've talked about solving before. I'm going to speed through this. You can read through all these problems again. Inverse operations, remember that operations means you do the opposite of what is shown. If it's adding, you subtract. If you're multiplying, you divide. And you're going to hear me talk about that. Solutions, solution steps, linear equations. Linear equations only have one variable raised to the exponent of 1. Okay, usually we're dealing with x raised to the exponent of 1. You may have y equals, which is just a function, or a variable equals one variable raised to the exponent of 1. So properties of equality, addition property. If you add to one side, you've got to add to the other. If you subtract from one side, you've got to subtract to the other. You multiply to one side of your equation, you must multiply to the other side. If you divide on one side, you must divide on the other side. That's all that means. Those are properties of equality. What you do to one side, you must do to the other. For example, on example 1, if I have x minus 9, you always look at the side with the variable. I'm going to do the opposite operation. So the opposite of subtracting 9 would be to add 9. If I do it to one side, I've got to do it to the other side. Okay? That's how you always remember. If I add 9 to one side, I've got to add 9 to the other. That's the addition property of equality. Negative 9 plus 9 gives you 0, which only leaves you with x, and that's what you want. You want x equals, well, what's negative 20 plus 9? Negative 11. Okay? Remember, if you have minus and negative, it really means that you have n plus 8, which equals negative 2. Alright, so you subtract 8 from both sides. What you do to one side, you must do to the other. And watch, they're inverse operations. They give you 0. You're left with n equals negative 2 minus 8, which would be negative 10. That's it. Move down. Solve x equals negative 3. Well, that's it. It's solved. On this one, solve x divided by negative 3. Well, if you do something to one side, you must do it to the other side. So if I'm going to divide by 3, what's the opposite of dividing? Multiplying. If I multiply to one side, I've got to multiply to the other side. Either put parentheses or a dot. Okay? Parentheses or a dot to represent multiplication. Please do not use x. We are not in the first grade anymore. We are using parentheses or parentheses or a little dot between the numbers and the variables, so that we're not confused that x is not a variable. All right, these cancel, and they cancel meaning they divide into 1. Negative 3 divided by 3 is 1. 1 times x is x. And 60 times negative 3 is going to give you a negative 180. All right, on this one, we have negative 3/4 times m. Now, you can do a couple of different things. You can multiply by the reciprocal, or you can do it in 2 separate steps. And I don't care. It's the same kind of process. Opposite of dividing is to multiply. If I do it to one side, I've got to do it to the other. Opposite of multiplying, which is what happened with the 3 and the m, the opposite of multiplying is dividing. If I do it to one side, I've got to do it to the other side. You realize that I am dividing these. Dividing here. Now remember, one's on top, one's on bottom, and we're multiplying, right? So that cancels out and gives me 1. Same here, these cancel out and give me 1. And 1 times 1 is 1. And 1 times m is m. Same here. 15 divided by 3 is 5. And then this becomes a negative 1. And I don't care how you do it. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 divided by negative 1 is negative 20. And you can move on to the next problem. Same here. We're going to just rearrange. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. However, I've got variables on both sides. I got the 4x and I got the 3x. Well, I like to move the x's first. So I'm going to move the 3x. The opposite of subtracting 3x would be adding 3x. If I add 3x to one side, I must do it to the other. So now I'm left with 7x minus 10 equals 32. Okay, so 7x minus 10 equals 32. Still, about where I was the last time. I need to do the opposite of subtracting 10, which would be adding 10. So if I add 10 to both sides, and I'd like to put a plus on there or a minus. So if you don't mind, please do that also, so that you're not getting confused on what operation you're using. So now I'm left with 7x on the left-hand side, and I'm left with 42 on the right-hand side. Still not done. X is not by itself yet. What do I need to do? Well, if I have 7 times x, what's the opposite of multiplying by 7? Dividing by 7. If I do it to one side, I need to do it to the other side. Now remember, when I'm dividing, that cancels out to be 1. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 1 times x is x. And again, I'm writing above and below on my homework. And 42 divided by 7, 42 divided by 7 is 6. Same here with example 7. It doesn't matter that my 2 plus my 4x is inside parentheses. Alright, I'm just going to bring it down. And put a plus sign between them. And that equals 8x. And then I do the same process that I did before. Now, if you had to distribute, make sure you distribute, but there's nothing to distribute in this problem. There's no other numbers outside the parentheses right beside it. No other operation. So now we need to get the x's on the same side. It doesn't matter. I like using the smallest one. Just me. If I do the opposite of adding x, I'm going to be subtracting 4x's. So I subtract 4x. So now I'm left with 2 equals 8 minus 4, which is 4 x's, plus 10. And again, I want to move the 10 to the other side, and I'm just changing colors so you know that it's a different step. If I do it to one side, opposite of adding 10 would be subtracting 10. I must do it to the other. And 2 minus 10 is negative 8 equals 4x. And what's happening between that 4 and the x? If they're side by side, they're meaning they're multiplying. So the opposite of multiplying would be divide. So whatever number's in front of the x is what you divide by. If I do it to one side, I've got to do it to the other. So now I'm left with 1 times x, which is x, equals negative 8 divided by 4, which is negative 2. Last one. I've got 3/4 x plus 1/3 equals x minus 1/6. It's okay. It has fractions in it, but we can deal with that. That's not a big deal. So don't stress out. Don't get scared. I'm just going to take it one step at a time. I'm going to rewrite it just a little easier for me to see things. So I have 3 over 4 times x. I'm just going to put x out to the side. Plus 1/3 equals x minus 1 over 6. Now my computer's dragging just a little bit. So now, same thing. We want to get the variables on the same side. And I'm going to choose to move the smallest one, the 3/4, because 1 is bigger than 3/4. What's the opposite of a positive 3/4? A negative. And the x goes with it because it's talking about x's. If I do it to one side, I've got to do it to the other. Okay, now this is where the tricky part. I'm going to do a little side note over here. 1 is the same as saying a fraction over itself, or a number over itself, right? And if we're talking about force for this other part, I'm going to put 4 over 4. So that 1x represents 4 over 4x. So that makes it just a little easier. These cancel out. They give me 0. So I'm left with 1/3 on this side equals 4 over 4 minus 3 over 4. You just subtract the numerators. So it's 4 minus 3? 1. And that 4 that I was talking about came up from right here. That's the same as saying 4 over 4. So it came from that 4 at the top minus this 3 at the top. Gave me 1/4 times x. And then, of course, we had the minus 1/6 over here. So next step is we want to move this 1/6. We want to get the x by itself. Opposite of subtracting 1/6, adding 1/6. You always leave the variable alone until the very end. Now notice, when you add and subtract fractions, we talked about that earlier, they have to have common denominators. So 1/3 and 1/6. Always look at the smallest number. And if that smallest number, that's really pretty. If that smallest number, is there a number you can multiply that smallest number by to get you the biggest number? And in this case, we're going to do 3 times what number gives me 6? And that's 2. So if I multiply the bottom by 2, I've got to multiply the top by 2 also. So that gives me 2 over 6. So 2 over 6 is the same as 1/3, just written differently. So now I've got 2 over 6 plus 1 over 6, right? That's this part right here. I'm going to highlight it so that we're not confused. It's just a little harder to see when you're doing algebra. This part right here is this section over here. Okay? We just made 1/3, 2/6. And now we have like term, or excuse me, common denominator, so we can add them together. So 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 over 6. And we'll reduce at the very end. We're going to worry about that later. Equals 1/4 x. If you want to reduce it now, that's your choice, but I'm going to wait till the very end. Now x is still not by itself. I have it being multiplied by 1/4. Okay? So you could divide by a fraction. But remember, what happens when you divide by a fraction? You're really what? Multiplying by its reciprocal. And the reciprocal of 1/4 is 4 over 1, or just 4. If I multiply one side, I must do the other. Again, the reciprocal of 1/4 is 4 over 1, which is just plain old 4. That cancels out. This 4 times 1/4, that gives you 1. And 1 times x is x. Or simplifies is a better word. And 4 times 3 is 12. And 12 divided by 6 is 2. So the solution to that problem, that equation, was x equals 2.